What if I told you the strategies to get to a 1 million run rate completely break and change when you're trying to get to 10? I'm going to show the exact playbook and framework we followed to break through this barrier and pass a 10 million run rate. Hey, I'm Arjun, founder and CEO of doola.com, a business in a box for e-commerce based in New York that's raised over $13 million of venture capital. We recently passed the 10 million annualized run rate milestone. And the truth is, the way we got to 1 million was very different than the way we got to 10. If anything, there were so many lessons to unlearn. I call this the scale transition framework. And I've broken it down into 5 steps that helped me go through this transition from founder to CEO, from 0 to 1 to 1 to 10 plus, from finding oil to building the oil rigs. And I'll explain what all of that means. Let me take you back in time quickly, though, to when I first realized something had to change. As Albert Einstein says, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. When we were at about 5 to 7 in annualized run rate, we were just kind of stuck there. We were growing, but it was still very just much plodding along. And the reason why things felt so stuck is it felt like everything was just like pushing a boulder up the hill. Communication was breaking apart. There were so many things going on in the company. And at this stage, I realized, hold up. I am the bottleneck. I had to very much look in the mirror and realize if I'm trying to do too much and I have too much on my plate, a company is going to be a reflection of you, which means everyone else is going to have too much on their plate. And if you're trying to prioritize everything, nothing gets prioritized. And what happens then is you do mediocre increases in many things, which again can lead to growth, but not the type of growth you want, with the focus you want. So this completely changed when I got a piece of advice from one of the top CEO coaches. And here was the advice. He said, when you're a startup, you have people that build a product and generate profits. But when you're a scale up, when you found something that works, you then have processes that you put people into, and then you manage performance. And this is the shift of going from founder during the startup phase to CEO during the scale up phase. And the analogy that just really nailed this for me is when you're a founder in the startup, you're digging for oil. You're looking out there in the world, where is oil? And the truth is, if you think there's no oil, well, you're wrong. That would mean there's no startup or ideas out there, and there always are ideas. We just don't see them. So you're digging for oil. But once you find the oil, the switch to scale up is you have to build the oil rigs, right? You're not just looking for oil now, but the goal is how much oil can you extract and how repeatable is the process? And when I thought of that analogy and then heard this startup to scale up analogy, it completely clicked in my head. I realized I was still thinking and doing too many things like a founder versus thinking like a CEO. I was still too much thinking about digging for oil versus building the oil rigs. And here was a quote which actually just hit me on the head left and right. This is a quote from a book called Measure What Matters by John Doerr. I strongly recommend this book, and I actually want to read the quote out loud because it resonated so strongly. Early on in your career, when you're an individual contributor, you're graded on the volume and quality of your work. Then one day, all of a sudden, you're a manager. Let's assume you do well and move up to manage more and more people. Now you're no longer paid for the amount of work you do. You're paid for the quality of decisions you make. But no one tells you the rules have changed. When you hit a wall, you think, I'll just work harder. That's what got me here. That hit so hard because that had been my mindset of more and more and more. And don't get me wrong, quantity and quality is good, but the solution can't just be you work harder, because at the end of the day, as a company, the company's output is equal to the number of activities across the entire company times the amount of leverage that each activity has. So if you were just thinking, hey, if I do more, you're thinking way too single-minded, because your individual output, yes, when you're a founder, one person, you are the only person. But as a company, your individual output actually pales in terms of the quality of decisions and the direction you can give to the entire company so that everyone's activity increases and everyone has more leverage so that their activities produce more output. So let me jump into the 5-step scale transition framework. The first step is switching from generalists to specialists. Generalists start companies, but specialists scale companies. Once you've found oil, you can break apart that process and get specialists to help with every part. Cracking open the rocks, building the machines, ordering the steel pipes. Whatever it is, you can find people who are experts at each of those processes, and that's how you're going to do better. Step 2 of the framework is you need to start to have a middle management layer. Now, Andy Grove from High Output Management talks about how middle managers are the most forgotten about group in a company, but they're so critical. They're the glue and fiber that hold the company together. So you need to start having now, as the company grows, middle managers who can think management hands-on and help their direct reports, but also can zoom out a bit to think strategically as well. So you have to go from a full room of ICs to, hey, there's going to be some middle management layer to ensure that you're taking the vision and translating it into execution and traction. Another key part of this is that you can't have shared responsibility. If you have a shared DRI, then the tragedy of commons happens. And the DRI is a directly responsible individual. It has to be an individual, not individuals. The tragedy of commons is if if there's two people associated to a task, it might not get done because the other person thinks the other person is going to do it. So you need middle managers and you need DRIs, directly responsible individuals, so that every activity is tied to one individual. Very clear alignment there. Step 3 of the scale transition framework is transitioning from 100% manual to automated systems. My analogy for this, which I love, is when you're starting a company, everything should be tied together with duct tape, because it's not a good use of your time to create the carbon fiber steel final product when you don't even know if someone's going to buy it and use it. But if you can build something with duct tape and someone's willing to pay you for that offering, you know you're solving a problem. And then if they're willing to buy the duct tape version, when you turn it from duct tape into steel, they're going to love that experience even more. So when you're starting, it's duct tape, but as part of the scale-up phase, you have to start to turn things into steel. And I love that analogy because anything new that we build, the outside might look good, but inside it's going to be held together by duct tape. But the second we see it working, let's start taking duct tape and refining it into steel. The way I prioritize this is an 80-20 approach. There's probably a couple processes that account for 20% of the total number of processes, but have 80% of the impact. So start with what process has the highest impact, turn that into steel, and then you can keep some duct tape for quite a while, actually. That's why duct tape is such a big offering in the market. But take the biggest high impact processes or the biggest fire and focus on putting those out first. Step 4 of the scale transition framework is evolve your pricing model. Now, at this point, you've probably served many customers and you've probably made the same mistake I made, which is trying to serve way too many people, because when you're a startup, we just want to serve everyone because you need customers. But the truth is, I would actually pause, look at your entire customer base and point out who are your best customers. The customers that pay you the most, give you the least hassle, are the most fun to work with, because you can make that decision on who you work with. Focus on more of them. You can probably charge those customers more. They're probably more fun to work with. And the truth is, there's probably way more of them out there. So an example here with Doola is once we realize that, hey, wait a second, there's a specific customer base or specific clientele that is interested in our business in a box plan, which is $3,000 per year or $329 per month, which has all the bells and whistles, formation, bookkeeping, taxes, and e-commerce analytics. We focused on then. That doesn't mean we don't say no to other people, but our direct energy is focused to that clientele. And we turn down other revenue opportunities that came our way. One of the most memorable moments is we turned down a $10,000 order for white labeled LLCs because it just wasn't the right use of our time and it wasn't something we built out. We turned away that money. 3 years ago, would have never done that. But we knew that we had to focus and evolve our pricing to focus on the highest, most likely to buy, most valuable clientele. And that's what we did. And lastly, step number 5 of the scale transition framework is going from founder gut to numbers. Now, here's the thing. You have to always trust the gut and instinct because you have that. And what I think that comes from actually is that no one but the founder has seen the full evolution of the company. And your gut's actually coming from pattern recognition and taking feedback, taking these atoms of thought and putting them together, which no one else has the full context on. So you should trust the gut. But the truth is, you can't 100% rely on it like you kind of are doing when you're starting. When you're at the scale-up phase, you've got to switch to hard numbers. And the best way to do this is starting at the top, picking your primary company metrics, the entire company knowing them, and then going down the ladder and creating metrics for every department. And eventually, the goal being every single individual at the company has a number as well. And you can split those numbers into leading indicators and lagging indicators. A leading indicator would be the inputs that you're putting in. So one example here could be the number of sales demos that people are having. The lagging indicator could be the revenue closed from them. So again, every person can have a number, a quantity metric and a quality metric, a leading metric and a lagging metric. But by going from gut to numbers, that's how you're going to have more repeatable processes and scale. That is a wrap. That is the scale transition framework, which we were able to use to, again, break through this plateau. And the truth is, I don't think this ever goes away. There's going to be more ceilings that you hit that you have to break through. But I really do think this scale transition framework, it helped me at Doola, and I hope it can help you to break through that milestone. Whether you're breaking through 1 million in run rate, 10 million in run rate, 5 million in run rate, whatever it is, I hope these 5 steps can help you break through that milestone to new all-time highs. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found a ton of value in this video. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know down below. You can also access any of my free ebooks or guides down below in the comments. And last but not least, if you yourself are scaling a business and are looking to level it up, this is why my company Doola exists. We offer entity formation, bookkeeping, and taxes to founders around the world. You can schedule a free demo at doola.com. We'd love to help you out. Thanks so much for watching. Again, I hope you got value. If you did, please subscribe and turn on notifications, and I'll see you in the next video.